and this is the part I was bringing up, but I will correct thee in measure and will not leave thee altogether unpunished. And that is important because we do sin. We do screw up no matter who we are. We screw up and we do need to be punished. And the punishment of God is severe. It is painful. And yet God is punishing you and strengthening you to go through it. It is, I don't know how that happens. I don't know how that works, but I just know that that is what happens. And when you go, and so when you go through it, you're either saying, leave me, you're either like, no, I'm not doing this. And you just turn around and walk out the door. Or you're probably saying the same thing, but somehow God is telling, helping you, causing you to push forward, and you keep pushing forward, and then you make it through, and you look back and you're like, I am never, ever coming through that shit again. Never, and and so then, like, God, teach me, prevent me from doing something like that. No, no, no. That's what you're doing. You're telling God, you've got to teach me so that I do not make that mistake again. So you do not go altogether unpunished, but the punishment of the Lord is just, it is swift. Even though when you're going through it, it feels like an eternity. It is swift, and then it is met with peace. I gotta say, even during it, because there's episodes. At least for me, there were like episodes, and between the episodes, there was peace and understanding. It's kind of one of those things where God's like, I have to punish you, but I also have to show you that I love you. In between, like a sandwich or something like that. So yeah, it's yeah. So anyways, it's yeah. so you don't go unpunished, but you do learn. You do learn, and then when you come out of it, you are more at peace. Then you begin to understand how God fortifies you against people who would say differently, who would tell you that you're not doing what's right, who would speak against you, who would come against you, stuff like that. You realize, at least in my situation, you just realize that it's not you. Well, first of all, they're not fighting you, right? They're fighting the one who's working within you. And it's not that they're necessarily a bad person, but when you've gone through it and you see how you fought against God, that's the thing. Like, when you see how you fought against God and God brought you through it anyway, you understand that these people who are against you, same thing. They see God working in you. And if they're so offended by what it is that God is doing with you, I just believe that means that God is working with them as well. And it hurts them. It hurts them, which is good. It is a good thing. It's not a bad thing, because when God is hurting you, it means that your end is going to be, if you keep going through it, if you desire to keep going through it, it means that your end will be more glorious than your beginning, like Job and like Joseph and like Jesus and like, just everybody. I think even the disciples, I think Jesus was telling the disciples how they were going to sit on 12 thrones or something like that and judge the 12 nations or something to that effect. I can't remember clearly right now. I'm a little sleepy too. But Yeah. So when you, but it's God that fortifies you against those people, because yeah, they're not coming against you. They're coming against God, but God knows how to it's not even God defending themselves. I mean, it might be. I don't really know what it is. I don't know what it looks like. But God is teaching them, and God is using you to teach them, even though you might not even be saying anything, or you might not be doing anything specifically, and you might be wondering, why are they? I ain't even do nothing. I've said that. I didn't. What do you do? I ain't even do nothing. And it's not you. It's God. It's the light that God has, you know, put within you. God put it there themselves. God lit the candle. God nurtured it until it grew into this huge flame. Flaming. I am a flaming homosexual. Sorry, it just came to my mind. Anyways, God has nurtured this huge flame inside you, and now it opposes other people, and you're not even doing anything, but God will fortify you against that, and either bring those people in, or if they just really want to oppose you, then they just cannot get in. There's just no place for them, but God's the one that does that. You don't do that. You let God do the thing, you know. You still might have some words for some people, because I always do. And I'm always telling God, oh my God, could you please, like, I don't know, calm me, or am I right? I don't know. And I don't think it's really a question about being right or wrong, but that's how I think sometimes. And I'm just like, am I wrong? Am I right? What should I be doing? Like, I don't know, or whatever. But sometimes people just get on my last nerves. And sometimes I just want to say something. Sometimes I do say something. Sometimes I don't. It's really, I'm not trying to be a perfect person, but also I'm not trying to chew everybody out. Gets on my last nerve, because that's a lot of anger, and that anger doesn't feel good in me. It's not because someone said anger is bad. It's because it doesn't feel, that type of anger, it doesn't feel good, and I don't like it. But I do know that God uses my anger for their benefit sometimes. And so, it's just, you just let God do the thing. That's it. And you end up just kind of enjoying, you just end up profiting from God's blessings, So, yeah. You might also have an issue with patience, which is what I have an issue with. So if you're trying to do it yourself, obviously, it's because you think I got to do it myself. If you're trying to do it, if you're asking God, it might require patience. Now, if you don't have patience, and if that's one of the things that you fear, as I say all the time, just tell God, because I have an issue with patience as well. And God didn't teach me patience as much. It was less about patience that God taught me, and more about trusting God. So, like, I don't know if my patience has been worked. It might have been. I don't really know what that feels like. But it's more like I ask God, like I just said earlier, I ask God the thing, and then I've learned to just be like, well, it's in your hands now. Just, I know that you're going to do the thing. And then God has taught me to keep my eyes open and understanding, so that I can see when it has been answered. It's usually after the fact that I recognize that God answered the prayer, but sometimes it's during. But and it's still, I'm still learning more about it. That might be daunting for some people as well, because you're just like, oh, I gotta learn this. Yeah, but don't let my human words deter you. God, when it's with God, kind of after the fight that you have with God, after the struggle, like when Jacob struggled with the angel, I suppose. But it's after the struggle that you begin to find peace, right? And then you just enjoy learning these things about God. So let's see here. I do also know that people like to put caveats on God's promises. Wait, let me read this real quick to see. We so I know that people think you got to ask God this thing and then do everything that you can to make it happen. I have long opposed that type of thinking. I'm not going to tell you if that type of thinking is correct or not because I do not know, but I am wholly opposed to it. Well, 95% opposed to it because of the way that humans think. Ask God. These are things that you learn at the hands of God. So even if I tell you, I'm not sure if it'll come across correctly, but ask God for the thing before, during, or maybe even after you're doing the thing. Because sometimes that happens, like you just react and forget to ask God. And again, I don't know how it's supposed to be all the time. I don't know if it's supposed to be sometimes this way, sometimes that way, sometimes another. I don't know. But it is not. Humans like to think that, yeah, they like to be like, give it, don't leave no stone unturned. They like to exhaust themselves for a thing. In my experience, it is not that way. It is not that way. It doesn't mean don't do anything. I mean, if you're like, I want to do this, God, please help me accomplish this or whatever, and then you go to do it, go do it. I'm not saying don't, right? But I think it doesn't make a lot of sense to exhaust yourself to turn over every single freaking stone because you will drive yourself insane. You'll drive yourself crazy. I think it doesn't make any sense. Also, I think your mind knows what not like your mind knows its limit. And it's like, I'm not doing that. I'm just not doing that, And people who do not know God intimately don't understand that God works with you and your mind. So I have ADHD and I have seen God actively working on my behalf with, knowing how my mind works. Right. And so it eases my thinking, knowing that I don't have to try to force myself to think like other people think I should be thinking in order to accomplish the thing that I want to accomplish. God will teach me, God will work with me and with my brain capacity. So if you are thinking, oh, I got to do this and this and this, and it's already exhausting you just thinking about it, you're probably not in the place that you need to be. Now, again, this does not mean don't do the thing. I'm not telling you to do the thing or not. That is up for you to decide and you alone. If you feel like you need to exhaust yourself to feel better about yourself, then do so. I'm not going to tell you not to. I'm just saying I disagree with that because it just doesn't make any sense to me in any realm. It doesn't make any sense to me. Only in the human realm does it make sense. And only because people act like that, and it very rarely works out. very rarely works out the way that they're expecting it to. So I do not subscribe to that, but you can if you want to. But what I really should say is that you should not try to add caveats to God's promises. It's something I had to learn personally. Do not add caveats to God's promises. Don't say, but no. God said it. You be like, okay. And you do the thing that you're supposed to do. And you just learn to expect, or desire to want to learn to expect for God to do the thing that God's going to do. Like, let God do God's thing. just let it happen. So this is probably the biggest part, because I talk very openly about the fact that I went through hell. I went through the gates of hell, screaming, kicking and screaming. Did not want to be there. I told God so in many fashions. Fashions that human would find despicable if I said that to another human. I mean, even if they knew that I had said that to God, they would find despicable. But I told God I did not want to, but I let God take me there. I don't know how that really happened, but that's how it happened. Every so often, God would ask me if I trusted him. And every so often, I'd hesitate. And I'd be like, I don't know, because you really trying to kill me. I don't know what's going on. But every so often, I was just like, God, you can't leave me here. I can't. Humans are crazy. I can't act like these humans. They're crazy. They built this world that doesn't even work for them. You can't leave me in this, So I'm not saying God's going to take me out of the world, although I thought that God would at one point. So, but I'm not saying that God will. I'm not saying God won't either. But, what I'm saying is that I needed to learn how to live in God's world, this world, the way God not necessarily intended, but that is best for me, right? And is best for other people. And so I just kept going through it. And it was rough. And so you might have a question, you might fear having to go through something like that I went through, having to, having everything taken away from you. Now, God promised me, showed me, revealed to me in dreams that everything would be taken away from me. And I would not know how to fly. And so it was. It was true. And so you might be, and I'm living in a car now. I have a very small income, and I'm on welfare as well. So, so I know that these are things that people fear, because this is what I feared. I did not want that to happen. In fact, before all this happened, I begged God if there was another way to go about it. Like, I was like, can we not do this? Can we not, and say that we did? But God was not feeling that. God did not say, he did not provide me another way. So we went through it. He didn't even ask me if I was ready. They were just like, here we go. so, and I laugh now, but it was not fun then. Yeah, so I know it's a scary thing. It is a scary thing. There's nothing that I can tell you that's going to kind of assuage that pain. Like I said, God will not leave you altogether unpunished. God will teach you what you have done wrong. You will feel guilty, but then you will also feel forgiven, like deeply forgiven. And no, you will feel ashamed, but you will also feel free and honored, and you will feel confused at first. You will not know what's going on. You will not know the beginning from the end. You will not be able to see the end. You will remember the words, but you will not be able to feel it. It's just the way it's going to be. In some way, shape, or form, that's just the way it's going to be. And there's nothing I can say that's going to make you feel good about it. I don't think, you know. And I'm not going to lie to you and say it won't happen. I don't know if it will, but it does seem to me that it will happen. I think it happens to all those who choose to walk after God, not because God is, not because God is sadistic, but if we want to dwell in the land the way that we are supposed to, the way that is right for us, God has to teach us how that is, and God has to be with us the way it is. God has to be in us and living with us, and we do not live like that currently. Nobody lives like that. I have not met a person who lives like that currently. And it is a learning process, and you got to turn your head the other way. You got to turn your sight the other way, and it is painful. And additionally, while God is teaching you that, you are understanding how you screwed up, how you sinned against God, so that you never do that again. So that we never end up in this situation again, right? And that is why it is so painful. It is like a multi-tiered learning process, and it is not fun, but God is there the entire time. So it's not easy, but it's not going to kill you, even though you feel like it will. You feel like it'll kill you, but it's not going to, because God will not let it, because God is there with you. Think of like the three Hebrew boys in the fire, or like Daniel in the lion's den. Think you're in it, and I don't want to be here, but think there's an angel here with me, or someone like the Son of Man. I'm assuming that was Jesus. We assume that it was Jesus. Like, think that, but you won't know it. You won't feel it. It won't be in you until God puts it in you, and then you will understand. And that, in my experience, has been as I'm like coming out of it. I think I'm coming out of it. At least that's how I feel. I might end up going back in, but I've been coming out of it for a couple weeks now, and usually it's like deep in, then a little bit of air, and then back in, and then a little bit of air, and then back in. And it hasn't been that way for the past like 2 weeks, so, or maybe 3 weeks or 4, I guess. I'm not sure, but it's been that way, and I've been able to see clearer my end, and I've been able to see more clear God's presence in my life, and be able to speak more confidently about what I've experienced, what God has done with me. I knew that this would be my end. I knew it. Again, it's one of those things that I knew, because God had shown it to me in my dreams, and just kind of like these whispers in my head, in my mind. But again, once just knowing the thing and actually believing and experiencing and having faith in the thing, two totally different things. And now it's becoming more concrete for me. Whereas before it was just an idea, and I was like, oh, I hope, sort of thing. So, but, so it will be painful, but if God has to take everything from you, God will restore it to you, right? Or restore you, whatever it is that you are losing, because it's not God's desire that you don't have anything. It's God's desire that you have what it is that you desire. Like, that's God's desire, right? But he's got to turn you back towards God. He's got to turn you back towards them. Otherwise, you're going to corrupt yourself and other people with the thing that you are trying to get. And this is why it's better to ask God for the thing than to try to push for yourself, because you will be wholly gathered when God is doing it with you. If you're doing it on your own, you're just taking extracts of something that could be marvelous, and you're corrupting yourself with it. Let's see. I went a little bit longer than I thought I would, but let's see. Okay, well, I think I pretty much kind of ran over it. One thing that I want to kind of end with is something I guess I alluded to earlier, but first of all, you don't have to believe me if you don't want to. I'm not trying to convince anybody. I don't even think I could convince anybody. There's no point in arguing about it. I've got no power to go into your brain and show you the things that have happened to me. I have testimonies, but I don't think those would even help. People have watched me, are watching me, and they have seen what God has done. I've written it down. I made videos of it again, but these are not things that are going to convince you, even though they are testimonies for you. It is the Holy Spirit that's going to convince you. And so I leave it into the hands of the Holy Spirit. And I ask God that whoever has ears to hear, as Jesus said, will hear what I'm trying to say and will understand and will seek God, and God will show them. Okay. When you do that and when you walk, this is what I want to leave off on, because I think it is glorious, is, there are examples in the Bible. I mentioned some of them. Job, Joseph, those are the two that I have looked at or applied to my own life, knowing that I knew, once again, earlier, years ago, more than a decade ago, I knew that God, that my life resembled like a mixture between Job and Joseph. A mixture between Job and Joseph's life. But I did not know why. I told God that, and I stand by that I did not do anything against God, and I hadn't. But I am a sinner. I have sinned, and I am very well aware of it. And then also, given things that I've experienced while I was at the gates of hell, God has every right, and I told God this, you got every right to just be like, bye, bitch. so like, I don't blame God. I wouldn't blame God if God was just like, I can't with you. But God hasn't done that with me, thankfully. But just like in these stories and with Jesus as well, and God took everything from Jesus. Jesus had nothing up until he died, but now he's got the entire world, right? So, if you decide that you're going to walk with God and go with God and get to know the true God, walk with the true God, want to at least understand or whatever, and God takes you through the valley of the shadow of death, you read Psalms 1, right? You take God with you, and when you do, the things that you do, the things that you try to accomplish, the things that you go out for, they will be like, a tree that's planted by the rivers of water, whose leaf does not wither, and whatever you do will prosper, right? Keep that in mind. Keep hoping in that, if you can, as much as you can. Keep hoping in that. I am, like I said, I'm just now coming out, and so it's building up, like Job. It's building up. I don't think Job got all that he lost all at once. I don't think that Job did. I don't even think that happened with Jacob. So, you know, I see it slowly building up, which I'm happy about. And I'm just telling you that your end will be better than your beginning, right? And so that's what you're hoping for. And you're hoping for a better ending, but in God. And then you will be at peace and you will understand these things. So those are things that I can attest to now, is that I'm at peace, and that I am without stress. For the most part, sometimes stress comes up and then I'll have to tell God what's causing me stress. Um, I say have to, but I choose to, because I like to just be 100% honest with God. And it's better because I don't have to hide it. I don't have to act like, oh, everything's okay. No, it's not okay. And then I tell God so. So, it is a scary road, being with God, because you don't know what's happening. You don't know what's going to happen. But when you do go with God, you get to see what different parts of the Bible meant. And that is really, really cool. And then you also get to experience life the way it was meant for you to experience, free, judgment free, from other people. And hopefully you're not judging other people. But, if you are, you tell God, look, I've been telling God that. Look, I've just been judging these people. I don't know why. It's not. I don't. It's not like I want to condemn them. I just, why you coughing without covering your mouth, bruh? I happened today, and I was just like, oh, Jesus help me. But I don't think that they're a bad person. But I just think that those are things that annoy me. So I tell God, but I do experience this peace that is just very. And when they say peace that passes all understanding, I don't know if that's like passes all understanding, but that's how it is with me. People are like, how can you be so calm and you live in a car and don't have a job? I don't know. I do have, like I said, I have an income that's slowly building up, to be honest. And eventually I will be off the welfare system, and then I want to get back to it because it's helped me so much. And all these other places where I go to eat and stuff, they've helped me so much. There's so many people I want to help give back to. It's just slowly but surely, I think, building up. But I don't know how. I know how I have the peace. It's the peace that God has and that God has given me. But if you ask me if I can reproduce it, no. Can I give it to you? No, I couldn't do it. You've got to talk to the God that I talk to. His name is Jehovah, the self-existing one. So there you go. I went on for a lot longer than I thought I would, but I hope that anyone who wants to understand does understand, and that God opens your heart and your understanding and your eyes and your ears, so that you can see and hear and understand what the Holy Spirit is trying to tell you. Don't think that God is out to get you, is coming to attack you, who has all of these rules and regulations and all this other stuff that humans try to apply to your life. Don't do it. They tried to do that during the time of the apostles. They're trying to do it now. Don't listen to that. Seek God on your own, with your own heart. Seek God until you find God. Okay? All right. Well, once again, if you feel so desirous, you are welcome to be a guest member on the show. And that's a $5 a month like donation. It's not really a donation. It is a donation, but it does a lot. So anyways, excuse me. But and I will see you on the next show. Ciao.